right, everybody. Thanks for being here. I appreciate the global audience as always. I know it's not always easy for everybody to join who really wants to do these things. We are going to record it. And actually, anybody who wants these slides afterwards, email me. I'll get it to you. Okay. There's some slides in here that are going to be that have a bunch of resource links that you may want to not have to visually, type up from the video recording itself, and you can just have the slides themselves. So, hey, the host panelists today, we have Yassin and Nitish, who are provide a wealth of knowledge on this topic of cloud migrations. Yassin, I'll give you a chance to talk about yourself and Flowzest in a second, and also Nitish, we'll talk about Trundl briefly, but here's just a very short bios of the two folks who will be answering questions, providing some of the tips today. And you can always reach out to all of us. We have our contact information in here. Again, you will have these slides if you want them to follow up. But the important thing is that the spirit of every event that we have is that it's an open door. I know for us as a partner, and I know Yassin is wired this way as well, is that take advantage of our good nature and contact us if you have questions. We're in the business to do business, but at the same time, we also know that not all of you are in the position always to, form a, professional contractual relationship with what we do in our companies. It doesn't mean that we can't provide a perspective or help. So please think of us as resources. One thing, so we just had a big event, JiraCon, big virtual event, and we're trickling out all these videos. Yassin's videos actually we hooked up with him for JiraCon. Nitish led a video there as well. Both kind of cover cloud migrations, and Yassin's been a lot of the first topic that Yassin offered was how to manage projects with 5,000 Jira users. So you're talking about a wealth of knowledge here. Our YouTube channel, we're putting all those videos and trickling them out on our YouTube channel. So check it out if you're interested. Yassin's video, if it's not up there right now, we're going to put it up really soon, as well as this video. So the quick agenda, we'll talk about ourselves and talk about why everybody is migrating. We'll talk about the resources that you have at hand and Atlassian's migration program. We're going to talk about migration strategies and methods, and Yassin's tips and Nitish's tips. Now, all these things, we want to go through them relatively quickly, and Yassin and Nitish, I'll tell you guys, don't worry about we can always jump back, and we have a lot of slides and backup that we could cover as well. So we're going to try to accelerate things fairly quickly, and just know that we want to make the back half or the back 2/3 of this session here really about you guys asking questions. That's really the design of it. So quickly, Trundl, we're an Atlassian solution partner. We do a whole host of Atlassian services. This ring is here from my marriage to my wife. I should have a second ring for Atlassian, probably Nitish as well. So we're married to Atlassian. We do business in India, US and Canada. Yassin, do you want to quickly talk about Flowzest and maybe more importantly yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Yassin. I work at Flowzest, and I am located in Germany and working at Atlassian field since 2016. And the last months and years focused a lot on cloud migrations and cloud service management for Atlassian.
Awesome. And you have some big names tied to you. Probably can't share the enterprises you've done migrations for, but I'm sure it's a very impressive list. So quickly, why is everyone migrating? Atlassian will tout the numbers on the left side about how cloud happy all of their customers are, but they really had an aggressive cloud sort of SaaS, business model or push, the last 4 or 5 years or so. So, starting from first version of Iron Man here to the Mark, I don't even know what Mark Iron Man that is, that suit. But if you think about it, from 2018 through 2021 and going into 2022, the acquisitions they've made not only to make their products better and to roll them in, Atlassian's, they've had concurrent sort of like year-on-year price increases, right? And so a lot of the enhancements that have happened are commensurate with that. But also it's a cloud push, right? So with Atlassian Access coming in 2018, the announcement and launch of Cloud Premium and Free Cloud in 2019, the end of server sale announcement, which we'll get to in the next slide, and how those new features from their recent acquisitions are going to be rolled in. And the future with Chart.io and where we're going to be going beyond, and Cloud Enterprise as well, and the start of the end of server plan, which was February. So this is a company that is really cloud first. They've pressed their marketplace to be so. And really, here's sort of the timeline. Yassin, thank you for putting together this for me. As a perspective of where we are in the entire plan when that announcement occurred. We're looking coming up in February. No user tier changes on server if you're beyond this end of server sale announcement. And the server apps and the support for those things are going to be trickling away as we go forward. Any particular comments you want to add on this, Yassin, or should we jump forward?
Well, basically a lot of stress for a lot of current customers who are using server, who are in the decision to go data center or cloud. And but a lot of customers are actually taking the decision to go to cloud instead of data center. You have a lot of like adventures in the cloud.
Awesome. I'm going to try to relaunch that poll again. I haven't the foggiest idea what's going on. Maybe the poll will work now. If it doesn't, we'll abandon it. Okay, awesome. So Atlassian has a cloud migration program, right? So the Atlassian Cloud Migration Center is really kind of the merging of those rivers, but there's all these resources and sort of pseudo run books for you to do this yourself. We're going to talk a bit about today, the sort of the tips we have or things you should focus on are about doing it yourself. Atlassian, at some point, in their, comparing their cloud migration methods, and you go into some of these links, they say, hey, at this point, or if you meet these certain criteria, you may want to get a third party to help you with this. And some of the things that Nitish and Yassin will talk about today will kind of allude to the difficulty and the fact that this is a major project to do this, where you may need some outside help. You can talk to any one of us here, the hosts, the panelists, if that's what you have to consider. But really, we're going to focus on what you can think about, prepare for, and perhaps do on your own. But these links will be here for you if you want them. We're going to be referencing the Jira Site Importer, and we're going to be referencing the Atlassian Cloud Migration Assistant in the upcoming slide as methodologies and strategies. So just keep that in mind. So migration strategies. Yassin, do you want to just kind of cover sort of the four major ones that you've outlined?
Yeah, so once you take the decision to go to the cloud, where you are in the phase of negotiating that with your stakeholders, one of the questions that will be asked a lot is, what should we migrate? And Atlassian would like to make it for the customers as easy as possible and offers 3 options to migrate. You can start with the one on the right side, phase. That means you split your projects or your spaces in Confluence or in Jira, the projects, into lots, and you start migrating one by one or department by department. And the other one would be on the complete left side to completely say, I'll start fresh. So I have nothing to migrate. I would like to start creating my users, my projects, my workflows, schemes, and everything in the cloud, and probably using new concepts which are better to manage your platform in the cloud. The 2 options in the middle, like lift and shift or optimize and shift, are very, very similar. One of them, the lift and shift, tells you you'll take everything that you have on the server environments to the cloud. And the optimize and shift tells you that you have to clean up first. So get rid of users, projects, probably pages, attachments, everything that you don't need, and then migrate to the cloud. Once you decide which strategy you would like to migrate, that kind of affects all the next steps, how you're going to migrate your data. And that is actually the methods, which will be the next slide. The first question is how you're going to migrate, which strategy or what should we migrate. And the next one is the method, the solution, the technical way. So if we'd say we're going to start fresh, there is no method at all. If we say we're going to do phased migration project by project, then we have here only two options, the ACMA, that's the app from Atlassian, or using CSV, for instance. If you'd say, I'd like to migrate phased, you cannot use site import. That's the one on the left side, because site import deletes everything you have in the cloud for each cycle. So that's why I said, first decide how you're going to migrate, and then decide, the method, the technical solution for that. Site import, it applies, of course, for Jira and not for Confluence. And site import, it just takes everything that you have on the database and just tries to apply it in the cloud. The ACMA are like two apps from Atlassian, one for Confluence and one for Jira. Soon there will be another one for Bitbucket. It's just an app that you install. With that app, you can migrate your users, your project, dashboards, fields, and everything that you have on the server environment. CSV, of course, it's not recommended at all, but if you have like one project with 100 tickets, so you don't have to to think a lot what strategy and method and so on, just export them in CSV and import to the cloud. Of course, it applies to Jira and not to Confluence.
Hey, Nitish, do you have anything to add to the last two slides, just from your perspective, particularly maybe the difference between going alone and generally where you go, with your teams when we do it, professionally as a third party for other companies?
Yeah, I would like to talk about a couple of things on this slide. Sorry, guys, bear with my voice. I just recovered from a viral fever. So what is happening with site import is, right now on cloud, if you have a Jira service management instance, which is getting migrated over from a server or a data center, the way customers are handled is different. You need to kind of have a different set of scenario where the customers are migrated individually with Atlassian's help, because the infrastructure is different currently, and for the user migration you need to kind of coordinate with Atlassian Move team, and they will enable certain functionalities on your instance where you can do the user migration using that. So that is one part where you need to be careful, and it gives you a lot of advantage in terms of getting all the data ported over. But going forward, Atlassian will be pushing for the ACMA programs, because they are coming up with additional beta version for JSM advanced roadmaps and other things. But it's not as robust as site import, because you lose content like dashboards, filters, shared boards, stuff like that. So it's always good to go with site import if you are ready to deal with certain user management perspective or issues. But normally site import gives you overall successful migration than ACMA. ACMA is still evolving. Atlassian is coming up with additional features, and in the next quarter or 2 quarters, you will see a much advanced ACMA tool set where you can kind of do most of the things which you're doing using site import. We are waiting for that, and it has evolved a lot. But if you have to kind of migrate everything, then always consider site import. CSV, as I said, that is the least a recommended approach because of the complications of doing the CSV import, and the history related content doesn't get ported over. But that is a preferred method for few users or projects where there are less issues. But overall, it's always site import over the ACMA tools. But if your requirement involves phase migration, you can't do a site import. Those are the things which you need to keep in mind. So every migration is unique in terms of the scenario which is involved, where users have, or a customer has a particular requirement. They want to move content together. They have certain things like filters and dashboards, which is important. So visualize the requirement, plan it accordingly, raise move tickets, and then decide which is the best method for you. Because everything will be unique, and You can't go with the template just because that has worked for a different customer. Your scenario might be individual. You need to plan things out, work with Atlassian, work with a partner, and then decide which is the best method.
Yep. Yassin, one question on the previous slide. Erica asked this: do you have any definitions or guidelines on what is a big server or a very big server?
Well, there is Atlassian profiling. You have like 4 profiles for like very small, small, medium, and big. And that actually a combination of, I'll say it's like a feeling to your server, like how many workflows, custom fields, users, you combine all of that together and you have sort of an output that defines how big your environment is. And it's a combination of a lot of statistics which you have on your environment.
Thank you. Awesome. So Yassin, we're just going to go through these, 5 or 6 tips per person, maybe just quick references to some of these things. It might pique our interest for the Q&A, which is coming up after these couple tips, and we'll open things up to use their voice to ask questions. But go ahead, Yassin.
As Nitish said, the first step when you think of the migration is to create a move ticket. Atlassian can help you with analyzing, planning, testing, and you need Atlassian all the time to migrate, because as Nitish said, they have to enable the cloud for you to be able to import users, for instance. So always create a move ticket. I always recommend to test everything on a test environment, which must be identical to your production. The same database, same server, same RAM settings, everything is identical. It's really hard to get that on some customers. They say, I cannot give you that. Migrate directly with my production system, but try to convince that this step is very important, because migrating can, of course, affect your production system, like performance and so on. The third is, if it is possible, create a cloud environment. Atlassian offers you, I think, up to 2 months or from 2 months up to 12 months free cloud trial. You can use it for testing purposes and testing the migration. You have like user acceptance tests, which you have to run, like create tickets in certain projects, see the projects, create filters, and so on. And that helps you, of course, to decide if the migration will go well or not during the test phase. But my recommendation, don't rely on that at all. Try to test everything yourself. Touch all the projects, maybe sporadically, like opening and deleting tickets and editing, checking fields. So count on yourself more than on your users. And don't forget, if you have Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, or other identity management, to think of the Atlassian access costs. A lot of customers forget that. They just think of Atlassian licenses like Jira and Confluence. But if you'd like to integrate identity management like Azure Active Directory, you need Atlassian access. That costs more money. And the final one is, if you have a lot of, like if you're a big company with like 10,000 users, you have a lot of server environments in the cloud, you don't have to create a lot of cloud environments. There is another option that can save you a lot of money, and it's called Atlassian Enterprise Plans.
Awesome. Nitish.
All right. So Yassin just covered a scenario where, it's a normal scenario where most of the customers have a normal instance without a lot of customization. But there are a few customers who kind of tweak Jira in such a way that you don't even realize that it's Jira. I work with a lot of customers like that. We maintain those data centers. We used to maintain servers and then migrated over to Atlassian Cloud. So if you have a instance which is highly customized, which is not supported by Atlassian anymore, if you are in version 6, 6.2, it's way more complicated than the previous scenario. Then you need to kind of do planning in a more elaborate manner. Again, move ticket is first thing. First step for any kind of migration, small, big, complicated, or an easy one. If you're lucky enough, certain things Atlassian themselves will do it for you. Be nice. Atlassian always provides support if there is room. Right now they are running in such a way that they don't even have time to kind of handle migrations, even if you're planning to book it 2 weeks ahead because of the number of migrations. So plan way ahead of time. If you are planning to move over to cloud or data center, And even if you don't have an active support, reach out to Atlassian. They will provide the support, because this doesn't fall under the normal support. As soon as you are raising a move ticket, it is considered as a migration support, and even if it's an older version, they will provide support. Second thing, add-on compatibility. A lot of users or customers who are having older versions of Jira does not realize that some of these add-ons doesn't exist anymore. Earlier having an add-on on Atlassian Marketplace was very easy. Atlassian didn't bother to check the code and certain things. Then they bought the Atlassian verified add-on program. Right now, it is more intense. They are pushing for cloud. If you are planning to get your system upgraded or migrated to cloud, you need to understand what are the add-ons which will not get migrated over. Again, there might be versions of add-on which is suitable for data center, but not for cloud. Then you need to reach out to the add-on vendor if it provides support. And there is also compatibility checking option which is available on the server version. Use that. If there are any server-side scripts, then you need to get rid of that. Plan to kind of convert it into an add-on which is cloud compatible if you can't live without that functionality. But our personal recommendation would be to kind of go with add-on which is already available on cloud. And right now the cloud add-ons have come a long way, so you might get that feature on cloud itself. Or if you are going with enterprise and Jira Enterprise or Jira Premium, you can make use of automation for Jira, which Atlassian gives free of cost. And then a lot of things related to Script Runner, which is a very popular add-on on the server side. It's not available on cloud anymore, or they are still working to kind of catch up with data center functionalities, and some of these things will not get ported over. Let me be honest about that, because there is a lot of limitations in terms of the infrastructure on cloud. Atlassian manages that, so they want to make sure that there is no vulnerability, because with Script Runner you can do almost anything on a server. If you have a person who knows to write scripts, there is endless capability to enhance your system using Script Runner. So make sure that you are getting rid of the unwanted scripts, and see alternate options on cloud if you are using Script Runner. Then the user directory, if you are a crowd user, people always complain about crowd. I don't know why. It's not one of the popular products, but if crowd is something which you're using, or if you're using an external directory, then you need to work with Atlassian to make sure that the user directory is converted into the right format before you migrate over to cloud. Atlassian gives you, or enables few features on your cloud instance or your server instance to kind of get this thing done. So make use of that. One tip which has always helped users or customers in testing is, before performing the migration, just run certain JQL queries on your instance, save it as filters, and run the same filters on, or JQL queries on the cloud instance, because on cloud you can't view more than 1,000 issues. If the list is more than 1,000, then you can't kind of view it directly. You need to kind of have filter queries which is split into different line items using dates and other things, or use a dirty trick of using the hyperlink of the downloaded file changed from 1,000 to 2,000, or so that helps. So have that handy with you before performing the migration. I believe there are a couple of questions. So
Am I not seeing the questions?
that's on the chat.
I'm showing no open ones. If you guys see them, run with them for sure. And actually, we're about that time anyways. So Honestly, I think I've given everybody the ability to unmute, I think. So if you have questions, particularly that I launched the poll and kind of just went the results. We have 9 respondents. I don't, you know, the person maybe who answered, I'm in the middle of a migration right now. You running anything that's urgent? Maybe other folks who are still considering whether you're debating between cloud and data center, you want to ask those questions. I think we had 6 people answer that was something they're still, you know, thinking about. Hopefully we've piqued your interest here on some of the questions, but definitely here's a time to just get sort of live answers to some of your questions. So the world favors the bold. So you are free to unmute and go ask questions.
Patrick, I think there are a couple of questions which are posted on the chat. So I think we can address that and then.
Oh, it's on chat. I'm not seeing in Q&A. Yeah, please go ahead. If you see them, go ahead.
Yeah, so there is a question from Varun on how to migrate JSM to cloud. If we decide to do phase-wise migration, I have tried configuration manager for cloud. It's not supporting JSM. It was supported by JST. So if you're doing a phase-wise approach, Atlassian has, just rolled out, not just, they rolled out the Jira Service Management, Cloud Migration Assistant beta version. So it gives you a functionality to kind of migrate over Jira Service Management projects. So if you don't want to use that, you can use the Jira JCMA. For that, you need to kind of convert your Jira Service Management project into a Jira core project, move over the tickets, and then rebuild your automations and queues along with the portal on cloud. That is one way for you to do it. But if you coordinate with the move team, you should be able to get the beta version for Jira Service Management migration. You can make use of that. Does that answer your question, Varun?
No, thank you.
How to cross-check all data migrated? This is a question from Savan. Well, there are a lot of ways to do it, but it is something which you need to kind of do it manually. You can't do a lot of things from the backend unless you kind of use APIs. You can kind of have your, it's a checklist which you create before the migration happens. Along with the run book, you need a checklist. So these are 2 things which is recommended for any migration. You compare the content which you're planning to migrate over. If you're using JCMA or CCMA, you get the content which gets migrated over, and you also get the content which doesn't get migrated over. So if you're using site importer, then you need to kind of do an apple to apple matching based on the content which you just migrated over. You can use the project administration section, then the issue administration section, and then jQuery, as I mentioned earlier. Yassin, do you have any other approaches which you have used?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no way to automatically check data which has been imported, whether by site import or by the Atlassian Cloud Migration Assistant. So if you know on server, you have like this system information where you go there and see how many projects you have, how many tickets, attachments. In the cloud, that is not available. So you have, as Nitish said, to do that manually, but you don't have to spend a lot of time on that if you have site import, because if one of the projects fails to import, the whole site import will fail. So what you can check is, do I have all the tickets that I'm seeing on server on the cloud? You can do that, for example, using pie chart on dashboard. Just create a dashboard, a filter with all the tickets, and see the number of tickets per project. You can check per assignee and so on. You can, of course, quickly check your workflows. How many do you have there? But a lot of things will definitely have to be done manually. I personally do not check a lot. I do some minor checks to make sure that my process run fine, and do deliver a task or give a task to all the different teams to check their own projects. If you do that on the test phase before the go live migration, and everyone confirms that the data is there, and we repeat the same process on the migration day, we never had problems with that people will complain my custom field is gone or my ticket is not there. So a lot of manual work.
Okay, another question from Amanpreet. So this is a very tricky one. Any tips of workarounds on plugins which are not available on cloud for migration? It's like, again, Atlassian marketplace is huge. So some add-ons might obviously have alternate solutions. For example, if you are using a lot of customers whose instance is big with 5,000 plus users and add-ons, tend to use three similar add-ons: JMWE, JSU, or JWT. But when they migrate over to cloud, they don't have to technically go with all the add-ons. They can just go with JMWE or JSU, and get rid of the other add-ons, because the functionalities are limited, and almost all these add-ons have the same functionalities. And along with JMWE, you can use automation for Jira if you are a Jira Premium customer or a Jira Enterprise customer. But it's more about research which you're doing, and you can also check with Atlassian. They have a checklist of alternate solution. So when you kind of do the planning phase on your move ticket, the customer advocate or your account manager will provide those. If you're working with a partner like Trundl, we have a checklist of add-ons which can be kind of replaced with an alternate solution, and that is tentative answer which I can give, because the reason for using the word tentative is you have thousands of add-ons. So most of these add-ons may have an alternate solution, but there might be scenarios where there is no alternate solution. You need to live with that.
Does the person who asked, do you want to just tell, are there any particular add-ons that you're thinking of that maybe Yassin and Nitish have had experience with, thinking of an alternative or anything else? Is it one of the more popular ones?
Yeah. Hi, this is Amanpreet. So we are actually going through all that process where we are trying to figure out which plugins are available in our instance, and which are not available in cloud. Particularly the one which we are looking for is the configuration manager. So then there is another one, issue printer, and there are few add-ons which we our users use within the data center, which are not available in cloud, and we are looking for some kind of alternative, because we don't want to push our customers saying that we can't migrate you with that plugin.
I have a recommendation there. Probably, I know it's really hard if you have a lot of different apps where users say I need them and without them I cannot migrate. It gets a lot of political discussions. But for projects which did not start yet, make it clear from the beginning that apps are not migratable. I know it's a shock, but communicate it at the beginning that, hey, a lot of apps, they are not one-to-one identical in the cloud. And a lot of them might not get migrated, especially talking about the data. So don't make high expectations at the beginning, hey, we can migrate a lot, because then you will have a lot of troubles with your stakeholders. And concerning the apps that you mentioned, maybe check if really the customers or the stakeholders and users are really using it. Like try to talk with them, discuss with them. And if it is like very, very highly needed, maybe think of Forge app. So with Forge app, you can quickly write a script that does a lot of magic. Like it can export your issues I know it's about developing your own app in that case, but if that requirement is critical to your business, and there is no one who developed an app for that, then you maybe can consider writing your own Forge script. And I wouldn't say Forge app because Forge apps are really like scripting. It's easy to do that if you have, of course, someone who can do it. And yeah, put the expectations at the beginning not so high to not to disappoint your stakeholders.
Sure. Yassin, can you send me some details about this Forge app?
Yeah, I can definitely send you that. It's I've tested it for a lot of like different customers and things which you can develop with Java and Script Runner in like a couple of days. With Forge, if you have the technical knowledge, you can develop in a couple of hours, and then you have an application there. And the complete architectural concept from Atlassian that you can internally in your company develop apps, release them, let them run on Atlassian Cloud. So you have data residency and everything there, and security as well, and without even putting them on the marketplace. So you can use them internally. I'll send some links here in the chat.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I'll make sure you guys have each other's email addresses after this.
And I believe configuration manager for Jira is coming to cloud. It's not yet launched. So if you can reach out to the vendor, they will definitely provide a ETA on when this would be launched. And you know, if there is a beta version or something which is available, they might even help you in kind of testing it out.
Sure. Thank you.
I can provide you a link. So you let me add it on the chat. You can make use of that. We have a different customer who had a similar request, and we reached out to them. I think a few months ago. Then the customer requirement changed, so there was no follow-up. But the vendor provides support, so they can be helpful. So reach out to them, and hopefully they will help you.
Sure.
For the folks who just, they're almost a surprising number of folks who answered that they hadn't really quite chosen between cloud and data center. Does anybody want to bring up any questions on that topic? Just sort of stepping back away from the technical aspects of a server to cloud migration. Is there anything that, or is it just more of a bigger kind of more political thing? Is there anything that you want these guys to cover on cloud versus data center for those who answered that? Okay. Any other questions?
Patrick, I think there is another question from Erika.
Okay.
So this is about, we have too many processes hitting the Jira API. Any gotchas with cloud API that we should be concerned about? Well, do you mind defining too many? Because the number might be valid in terms of, you know, of course, if there is something which the cloud instance can't manage, then there is a problem. But overall, the APIs on cloud is reliable, and you can make use of it. It may not be you know as easy as the server, because even if it goes down, you can always make changes and bring it up. So there would be a limit. But if you want to kind of get a concrete answer on that, you need to have a number and then probably reach out to the Atlassian support. They will be able to help you. But cloud APIs are pretty robust, and you should be able to kind of handle a lot of API calls.
One of the biggest changes there compared to server is the authentication. So on server, you need like username and password. In the cloud, it's completely different. You need like an email address or account ID and API token. A lot of other like APIs have completely different schemes. So how you communicate with the cloud and what data do you get? So everything is different. Think of maybe analyzing that as early as possible. Yeah.
Test it out on before the migration on the UAT, because user tokens, API tokens, that is not very complicated, but the way your existing scripts might be written, there would be some sort of changes which you'll have to make those API calls work.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that feedback.
Aman, I see another question from you. This is related to licensing.
So any quick solution for license reclaims before movement to cloud?
Well, Patrick, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
Actually, I don't know if I can answer that. Not to say, do we know? So you should, if you, specific question, you can definitely, we can follow up on that one, unless Nitish, you know.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
if
Yassin.
you have a valid license, which is going to expire in a future date, then Atlassian provides some sort of free extension. At least they used to provide earlier. I'm not sure whether things have changed recently. For example, if your licenses are valid till November 2022, then you are eligible to have cloud licenses valid till November 22, or that was the case earlier. But you need to have an active subscription for that. And if you're moving over from server to cloud, there are some benefits which Atlassian provides. So that is applicable when you kind of raise that move ticket. If you're working with a partner, then the partner will help you in getting or giving you those benefits. If you're working directly with Atlassian, just reach out to them, ask them whether we are eligible for any kind of loyalty discounts or something based on your license system and how many users you have, or you are planning to migrate over to cloud. Atlassian definitely provide some perks because they are pushing for users to be or sites to be migrated over to cloud.
So my question actually was that suppose we have say 20K user licenses and out of which we see that there are only say 12K which are valid ones. So we want to reclaim those licenses, the non-valid ones, so that when we move to cloud, we can just go ahead with 15K license tier.
The license tiers are way less complicated on cloud than on data center and server. You get more tiers. I don't know whether there is a user tier at 15. Patrick, do you recall that? Aman, if you don't mind, you can. We will reach out to you and probably get that information. That is something definitely which can, that is something which can be solved. And you don't have to go with 20K licenses if you only have 12K active users. There is a user tier system which supports that. I'm not sure whether there is a user tier for 15,000 users, but our procurement team can definitely help you on that. And if you work with a partner with us, you'll get more benefits than working directly with Atlassian, at least on the licensing part.
Yeah. Yassin, do you recall anything on those tiers of the cloud?
It's really dependent, but I don't know exactly if there is 15,000 exactly tier or 20,000. I guess now they have like up to 30,000. Like if you have Atlassian access, you can get up to 15,000. And independently from the number of users that you need, if your licenses are valid, you get, as said, up to 1 year free cloud trial. And if you decide to migrate after like a couple of months, you don't have to pay double like server and cloud. They will like arrange that with credits. And for big companies, I guess the 15,000 is one of them, you can get up to 2 years of cloud trial testing to test your migrations. That's called like an enterprise plan from Atlassian.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One of the other poll results, one of the things that folks mentioned they were struggling with was getting the internal support they needed. Or folks who answered that to be able to run these projects, is it more of a political thing that you guys are running into, or just curious about what the project makeup should be and how it should be budgeted, or how the stakeholder relationship should work with the, the project leadership or things like that? Anybody want to expand on that?
Yeah, I can probably give some recommendations there. Like to split the talk, the technical talk and the political talk internally, and really look at the Atlassian migration kit. There are a lot of informations, a lot of templates, which can help you clearly like present the data that Atlassian have, like the complete licensing, the features and so on, which might help you convince your stakeholders internally to go to the cloud. And independently from that, you can definitely test the migration parallel if you get, of course, the go for that. It does not take a lot of time, maybe in 2 or 3 hours, you can run a dummy migration test, check your data in the cloud. One of the very important things probably that you can consider, you don't have to do a full migration to get a feeling for that, like to get a feeling for if it is a big project or a small one. You can run a migration, for example, without users. Just migrate your workflows, your custom fields, and your data using like site import without users. And to help you technically to get more confidence in yourself and in your setup from the cloud and from server side.
Is anybody struggling with the methodologies and choices? I know it's usually takes a bigger discovery session, but any particulars on whether Jira Site Importer or the Atlassian Cloud Migration Assistant is right for you? This diagram may be helpful, just visualizing whether you're going to a new cloud or an existing cloud and the trade-offs you may have to make. So, whether it has to be an XML import or export, pardon me, or something else. Maybe this is helpful, or will inspire other questions. Anything else? There were questions folks had about premium standard plans. Any questions about Jira software, what comes up in standard, premium, or enterprise? Any of those limitations? A lot of this stuff can be found on really all this information can be found on Atlassian, but any deeper dives into those comparisons that you guys need?
From my experience, most of the customers goes for the premium plan, because there you have like a sandbox system where you can just with one button create a test environment to test different workflows and so on, or different changes. But like customers who choose the standard are like customers who have like 20 employee or 30 employee and use the Jira for ticketing system without really having a lot of complex processes. Most of Atlassian customers do really like have specific processes, complicated like change management, service management, and so on. So most of them go for premium.
We had in a previous webinar, we had a slide or two, one slide just talking about, and this is historically, where we explained where Jira Cloud kind of falls short compared to server. And I know it can be a longer, maybe a shorter list than this at this point. Some of these things are of particular importance to those who are used to server. I don't know if any of these are still relevant to any of the audience members here. And some of these things are, actually maybe out of date where it falls short. But are there any particular fears or snags on the server capabilities that you really just want to kind of figure out, and it may be determinative of whether you go data center or cloud, that you're kind of stuck on? Okay. We may shut down 7 minutes early. I will send anybody who wants these slides. Erica, I know you wrote I know there may be others who are interested. I'm happy to send out these slides to you all. And again, the Yassin's and Nitish's emails are on these slides as well. So, you know, reach out to me or either one of them, you know, as a follow-up if you want to get a deeper dive into your use case. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Patrick,
Yassin,
for the
Nitish.
invitation, and thank you, everybody,
Thank you,
for
guys.
participating.
Thank you.